All right, this is Julie with Youngblood Coaching and Consulting, and today in our group coaching we're going over how to present offers. And so if this is wobbly, I'll stabilize it later on YouTube. This is Joe. Joe's going to be my buyer. All right, Joe. So what we've got here is your offer on the property that we picked. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over the finer points with you. And if there's any questions that you have, I want you to feel free to ask those because this is a pretty important form, okay? So like I said, I'm going to touch on the finer points. Some people need a lot more, and I'm okay with that too. So are you okay if I just touch on the finer points?
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that. Okay, so this is you and your wife. We've got the address here. We're offering $180,000. All right. Now our earnest money deposit, that's the $3,000 that we talked about. That's the money that we put up front to let the seller know that we're serious. When we close escrow, we actually get that money credited back to us. Okay, we're doing an FHA loan. Our loan balance is $137,700. Our additional down payment to equal that 3.5% is our down payment money plus our earnest money. That equals to 3.5% for a total purchase price of $180,000. Do you have any questions on this page?
No questions.
All right, go ahead and sign right there for me. Great. All right, Joe, now this talks about applying for the loan. The good news is, because you're working with me, you've already done your loan application. So we're going to actually include your approval letter with the offer. However, this is just letting the seller know that within the next 2 days, we'll actually sit down with the lender, fill out the application, they'll pull your credit. They'll take the next steps beyond pre-approval. Okay? We're going to check here that we actually are going to allow the listing agent to contact the lender for updates. That doesn't mean they're going to give out your personal information. They're just going to let them know where we are in the process. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So it's important. Actually, it lets the seller know that we're serious and that we are confident in letting their agent talk to our lender. Now, we aren't doing a cash purchase, so this doesn't matter. I do want to talk about the appraisal. This is the section that discusses what happens when the appraisal comes in. So if the appraisal comes in below the sales price, we've got a couple different options. One of the options is you as the buyer can pay the difference in cash. The seller can come down to the appraised value, or we can renegotiate the price. Sometimes we meet in the middle, and sometimes we cancel the deal. Okay, any questions on that?
That's pretty solid.
When that happens, you and I will work together on that so that you're very comfortable with what's happening, okay?
Yeah.
The good news is that the purchase of this home is not contingent upon you selling another home in order to qualify. Fixtures and personal property. This is all of the things that were existing in the property. It's all pretty standard. It covers the window coverings and the fireplace grate and the landscaping. I went ahead though and I added in the refrigerator and the washer and the dryer because those were in the MLS.
Gotcha.
Any questions on that?
No questions.
Okay, go ahead and sign for me. Great. Now, Escrow, I've got a title company that I work with. They take excellent care of my clients. That's Fidelity. So I'm going to go ahead and put Fidelity National Title here, and we're going to work with Melissa Moses. This is the third neutral party that actually takes all the paperwork. They put it together. They're going to help you with signing loan documents. They're going to hold the money. They're third neutral party. Okay? So they really help facilitate the transaction. They're going to hold the earnest money for us. Close of escrow, it says we're going to close escrow on or before January 16th. Now, I've talked to the lender, and they say they can close this FHA loan that quickly. Normally what I do when I'm filling out the offer is actually call the lender with the buyer there, and I say, okay, we're writing an offer, FHA, when can you close? So I let the lender tell me, because they're the ones that have to order the appraisal. If it's a flip, 2 appraisals. They're the ones that have to go through the loan process and underwriting and yada, yada, yada. Okay? A lot of this stuff is kind of standard, and if it applies to you, I'll talk to you about it. Title insurance, we're getting the standard title insurance policy. Prorations and fees, I split this up the way that it is typically done in the state of Nevada. So you're going to pay your closing costs, and the seller's going to pay their own closing costs. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Prorations, basically what this talks about is when you own the property, that's when you pick up certain bills. For example, sewer, trash, homeowners association dues. Those are all going to be prorated. So the day you own is the day you start paying. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Do you have any questions on this?
So far, no.
Okay, go ahead and initial for me. All right, now this part's pretty important. This talks about inspections, and we're going to get into the due diligence period in a little bit. However, these are all the different types of inspections that we can get on the home. I always recommend that we get a structural mechanical inspection, and so we've gone ahead and checked that, and we'll have a certified home inspector do that for you, and that's to be paid for by you. Typically here in Nevada, the buyer also pays for the appraisal. It's typical that the seller pays for any transfer fees on the HOA. So we're going to go ahead and write this up clean the way that's pretty standard in our state, just to make our offer more appealing.
Nice.
Any questions on that section?
No.
Okay, now certifications. This section really almost doesn't apply anymore. There used to be a time where if you were an FHA buyer, it was required that the seller purchase a roof certification. And what that would do is we'd have to hire a roofer, they'd climb on the roof, they'd say, yes, I certify that this roof is good for 3 more years. Now, if based on the inspections, the home inspector says, you know what, you really should get the roof looked at, you can say, you know what, I do want to get the roof looked at, and now I want a roof certification on top of that. We've waived those, however, if you do want any type of certifications, those would be paid for by you. Makes sense?
Out of pocket.
Correct. So there was a time when it was pretty mandatory that the seller paid for certain certifications.
Right.
However, not so much anymore.
Hmm.
Now, the seller additional cost and limit of liability, this is where we're going to ask the seller to make repairs. So based on our inspections, Mr. Seller, we're asking that you repair anything up to X amount of dollars. Based on this price point, I put $500. So what that means is that the seller is agreeing to, if there's $500 worth of repairs, that they will make those repairs or credit us at close of escrow. If it goes over that, let's say we find out the foundation's cracked and that's going to cost $15,000 to repair, the seller at that point doesn't have to make that repair and we can actually cancel the deal.
Okay.
Make sense?
That's my out.
Correct. Now, to make your offer more attractive, we put a 0 in there.
Gotcha.
So we're not essentially going to be asking for, oh my gosh, that must be your wife. She's very excited.
She is.
So we've put a 0 in here because we're not going to ask the seller for any repairs.
Yes.
Do you have any questions on this?
So far, no. It's
Okay.
perfect.
Go ahead and initial for me. Okay, lender and closing fees. Now this is where we get an opportunity to ask the seller to pay or contribute towards our lender fees. We're going to actually put a 0 there because you and I have talked about and your lenders talked about what exactly you're going to be coming to the table with based on these numbers. We are asking for the 1-year home warranty. We're going to ask the seller to pay for it with HSA, that's Lisa Waldeck, not to exceed $340. That's pretty standard. If you had a pool and you wanted the super upgraded package, it would be $600.
Gotcha.
So this is good because this ends up helping cover the property on any major incidentals that could happen. For example, if the AC unit breaks down 3 weeks after you move in, you've got a home warranty there that'll help protect you.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Transfer of title. This is just saying that escrow is going to do the title work and we're going to have a clean title transfer. In other words, there'll be no liens or anything like that on title when you get the property, except for, of course, your mortgage lien. Common interest communities. Now, I do want to spend a few minutes on this because we are buying in a homeowners association. The way that that works is that the seller is required to provide a package to us. It's called the resale package. They have 10 days to get that to us. Once I receive it, you have 5 days to approve it. This is going to be pretty much our last loophole to cancel the deal. Joe, you're going to think this is weird. I'm going to do everything I can to get you into this house, and once we've got it, I'm going to do everything I can to kill the deal. That's why I'm a little different than most realtors. I'm going to make sure that you are aware of all of your loopholes, and this will be one of our last loopholes to cancel the deal and get your earnest money back.
Makes sense.
Okay. So I know this is overwhelming. The good news is I'm here to help you with those time frames. Okay.
Nice.
Disclosures, there's a couple of required state mandated disclosures, one of that being the seller real property disclosure form. There's no other disclosures that we're going to ask for up front except for that I do have a Keller Williams buyer disclosure that I'm going to have you sign. So the seller is saying that they will within 5 days provide us with the seller real property disclosure form. I know that's a big word, it's a lot of words. It's a form where the seller discloses what they know about the property.
Right.
And based on that you can cancel the deal.
Gotcha.
Do you have any questions on this page?
So far, none.
Okay, go ahead and initial for me. Additional disclosure, this is where we would disclose if you are a real estate licensee or if your wife was or anybody that you're related to. Are you related to anybody who's a realtor or a real estate licensee?
No.
You're not. Okay, great. New construction, that doesn't really apply to us. Airport noise, this is just to let you know that we are next to an international airport. There's an airport in North Las Vegas. We do live next to an Air Force base, so from time to time you're going to hear or see airplanes. Federal Fair Housing just says we cannot discriminate. Buyer's due diligence, now we're going to put 10 in here. The first 10 days are going to be hectic, okay? I just want you to be prepared for that. This is the time where you and I get to decide if this is the house that you're going to move forward on. So all those inspections we talked about,
Right.
we're going to get inspections done. Anything you want to get done, figure out about that house, we're going to do it in the first 10 days.
Nice.
That's your time frame to go through and make sure this is a house you want to invest $180,000 into. If you wait until after that time, you risk losing your earnest money. So I'm going to be really aggressive with you those first 10 days.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay? Property inspection and condition. This is where we recommend that you hire a professional property inspector. Okay? This is also to let you know that I'm not a property inspector, and that if I told you something was wrong with the house, or that if something looked good with the house, that, well, you can't hold me liable for it. Do you have any questions on this?
So far, no.
Go ahead and initial for me. Preliminary title report. The title company is going to do what's called a preliminary title report. It's going to be a map of the property. It's going to show us the lot lines. It's going to show us what's on title. It's going to show us what's going on. We're going to look it over and see if there's anything we can't live without. Pretty simple. I'll walk you through that. Now, about 3 days before we close escrow, you and I are going to schedule what's called a walkthrough. We actually have like a 3-page checklist. We're going to go back through the house, and if there were any repairs to be made by the seller, we're going to verify that those repairs were made, and we're going to make sure that the house is in the same condition as when we saw it. This isn't a cosmetic walkthrough. This isn't where you get to decide, oh, I don't like the color of the wall, so I'm going to cancel.
Right.
This is just to make sure that the home is in the same condition as when we bought it. In other words, they didn't remove the cabinets and drain the pool and, flood the laundry room.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Delivery of possession says that upon close of escrow, we want to take possession of the property. If for whatever reason the seller doesn't move out, we're going to charge them $250 a day. Okay? That's excessive, by the way. Usually it's about $100. Hello. Risk of loss. What this says is that if the house burns down, you're not stuck buying it.
Gotcha.
Cool. Assignment of this agreement. You as a buyer can buy this property and or assignees and actually assign the agreement to another buyer. The seller needs to approve it. Cancellation of the agreement. I want to talk about this. If for whatever reason we default and we decide we want to sue the pants off of each other, we agree to mediate first, which means we go down to the Board of Realtors. They've got a great mediation program set up, and we actually work with each other to not sue the pants off of each other and come to an agreement. Okay? If the seller defaults, you can actually sue them for what's called specific performance and force them to sell the home. However, I don't recommend that. I say we just go find another house. So there is recourse for you though. If we're 30 days into escrow and you've got a house packed up and your lease is over and yada yada yada, and you're thinking you're moving into this house and the seller cancels for no good reason,
Sure.
you can actually force them to sell you the property.
Wow.
Any questions on this?
It's interesting. No.
Okay. You know what? And 90% of this, hopefully we won't have to use. Now, if you default, we've got two options. If you default and it's outside of any one of those reasons that you can cancel, like the CIC package or the inspections, two options. We can either let the seller keep your earnest money as your, I'm sorry for defaulting, or
Right.
they can actually itemize and come after you for specific expenses.
Wow.
So I always recommend let the earnest money do its thing.
Yeah.
This could add up.
I follow you.
So go ahead and initial right there. This just talks about escrow. Escrow is a third neutral party. They don't want to be held liable for anything. They don't want to get sued for anything, and they're going to do what we tell them because that's pretty much what they do. They do say here that unclaimed funds, if for whatever reason, sometimes buyers, when you wire your money in and they pay everything, sometimes you'll have a few $100s left. If you don't come pick the money up, they'll start charging you interest on it.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Broker fees. This just says that the fees that were agreed to at the time of the listing with the listing agent those are in place. Nothing changes. And as a matter of fact, the listing agent is going to be paying me my commission. Now this is where, do you remember when we signed that buyer brokerage agreement? And,
Yes.
and I had that additional commission on there? I have to
started
disclose
shaking
that
it
to the other
too.
agent. So this is just letting them know that you as the buyer are paying an additional commission to the buying broker.
Gotcha.
And waiver of claims actually goes into the next, it goes into the next page. This just says that you understand that I'm not a home inspector, I'm not an attorney, I'm just a realtor. And it's gonna sound goofy that I'm gonna say this, but basically I'm an idiot and everything I say you can't hold against me. Do you have any questions on that?
So far.
I know, right? I can't believe I say that, and I do. Okay, other matters. This is definitions. Look, I do this all day long, every day, so I'm going to say things like COE and HOA and CIC and yet, and you're going to say, what in the world is all that? Here's where you go. This is like your glossary.
Gotcha.
Signatures, delivery, and notice. First off, signatures don't have to be originals anymore. Faxes, when they're received, that's considered delivery, and the same thing with a postmark date. 1031 exchange, we're not doing that here. That's a tax deferred exchange. If you're, for example, if you were selling one investment property and you wanted to defer the taxes, you take the money you would have made off of that and you put it into a like property. So you defer paying taxes on that profit.
Gotcha.
Not the case here. Any questions on this?
So far, none.
Okay, go ahead and initial for me. Great. All other terms, time is of the essence. Everything must be in writing. This is a legally binding contract. If you have any questions or if you are uncomfortable with this, I highly recommend that you talk to an attorney before you sign the final page. Okay? I'm not an attorney, so I want to be clear on that. We don't have any additional addendums, any additional terms. This is where I'm signing that I received your earnest money check. So this is your receipt. Any questions on that?
No
Go ahead
questions?
and initial for me. Awesome. All right, this is where we're going to sign our offer. This is where it discloses to you who works for you, me, and my broker. This is where the seller is going to address our offer. They're going to accept, reject, or counter. They'll sign. This is their broker information. This is where they're going to disclose if they're in real estate or not, the sellers, and this is where we're going to initial. Any questions on this last page?
So far, so good.
Okay, so go ahead and initial and then sign for me right there. All right, Joe, and you'll notice that I'm giving them 48 hours to respond. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this offer to the listing agent. And so today is Monday, which means we should hear back by Wednesday at 5 p.m. So if you don't hear from me before then, it's because I haven't heard from them. You will hear from me first thing Thursday morning, though.
Beautiful.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's awesome. I want a high
Well done.
five.
Very good.
Oh.
Very
Okay,
good.
so that one, I did a little more